Buongiorno a tutti e tutte, sono Elena Sandrone di Slow Food e vi do il benvenuto in questo forum dal titolo Città edibili, città del futuro. Prima di iniziare provvedo a darvi alcune informazioni logistiche importanti. Il forum si svolge in modalità webinar, pertanto i microfoni e le telecamere dei partecipanti rimarranno spente per tutta la durata del forum. Per interagire, per fare domande, siete invitati a utilizzare la chat. Il forum durerà un'ora, quindi al termine del forum rivolgeremo ai relatori le domande ricevute nella chat. Per utilizzare la funzione delle traduzioni, cliccate sul globo che trovate sulla schermata e selezionate la lingua desiderata. Per l'italiano vi ricordiamo di selezionare il coreano. Durante il forum sarà con noi Irene Coletto di Ausatonic, che realizzerà una facilitazione grafica a partire dagli interventi degli speakers. Vi auguro quindi un buon ascolto e passo la moderazione di Raul Tiraboschi, che è fiduciario della condotta Slow Food di Bergamo, nonché coordinatore del tavolo permanente della Food Policy di Bergamo. Buon ascolto a tutti, grazie.
Buongiorno a tutti, buongiorno a tutti i partecipanti e i nostri ospiti e grazie Elena per l'introduzione. Questa mattina affronteremo uno dei temi più interessanti, più caldi di tante occasioni che ci sono in tutto il mondo per parlare di cibo e parleremo di cibo legato alla città. Siamo molto contenti di avere ospiti da tutto il mondo. Come sapete, i forum hanno una rete internazionale. Abbiamo 5 ospiti molto interessanti che hanno ciascuno una propria storia e ciascuno ha nella propria realtà, grazie a Slow Food e grazie alla propria attività lavorativa e professionale, agito nel proprio contesto culturale e cittadino per preservare la biodiversità, per sviluppare l'educazione, per aumentare la consapevolezza di ciò che è buono, pulito e giusto. Vedo che il tema è un tema in tutto il mondo trattato e che Slow Food affronta con decisione. Per questo credo che sarà molto interessante anche da parte di chi ci ascolta interagire alla fine degli interventi con delle domande e partirei subito con il primo dei nostri ospiti, Mr. Joel. Mr. Joel è un cuoco di livello internazionale, proviene da una regione particolare dell'India, una regione ricca di biodiversità, di storia, di popolazioni autoctone con una propria cultura e delle proprie tradizioni. E credo che sia interessante ascoltare la sua opinione proprio rispetto alla sua attività lavorativa come cuoco, come ambasciatore dei nostri valori e nel suo contesto sociale e lavorativo. Buongiorno Joel.
Good morning everyone. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this event and just to tell a little bit about what we have been doing. And even though we are far, but still then our hearts are very near. and hopefully this will get over soon, and then we can be together and discuss more better. But to tell a little bit about the slow food community in Nagaland. So with the help of Carlota, Michelle, and Slow Food, we were able to form the Slow Food community in Nagaland in 2018. So it's been 2.5 years where the community has been formed, and very happy that we were the first community in whole of India. And the initiation for the slow food community, we started off with a model village garden, which is based 5 hours from the place where I live. And we have done a community garden where we have encouraged the farmers and the villagers not to do slash and burn techniques. And also we have done vermicomposting, we have done permaculture, we have done cross-pollination. So it's a center of learning for the villagers as well as people who come from outside. And we have done, in the process, we have done mud crab conservation. So it's based in the community garden only. So in future, we would like to send a lot of pictures about the place and also about the work that we are doing. And we have already started river water conservation also. So fish river water conservation. So we are talking with the villagers to safeguard the village, and also, and we were after the initiation of the event of the community, we did an event in 2019, and we were able to generate an income of 1.8 lakhs for the farmers. So we did an event for the farmers, and they were able to generate the money. And we as a slow food community, we are a facilitator for them. And in this community, we are also trying a lot to make connections with a lot of village, and also seed banks. We have created a seed bank in the community garden as well as in the neighboring village. And there is exchange of villagers and the farmers who goes to other village and do exchange of the thing. And since the initiation of the model village garden, we have had interest from the farmers and the villagers, and there has been 20 more kitchen gardens which has come up by the villagers. So these are the progress that we have been doing. And this year in the month of Feb, we had a collaboration with a school, and with the slow food that they have tied up with. So it's through the slow food US and tied up that slow food, we did collaboration, and we had a cooking competition for indigenous cooking. And in the near future, we want to do a lot of traditional learning, traditional indigenous tourism tours where people can come and learn from the community, the model village garden that the slow food community has set up. And also it's the initiation that Slow Food International has taken and given us a platform where we can safeguard. And we have done capacity building training for self-help groups. So the women in the village, we teach them about using the organic produce that they have available, and we teach them the fundamentals of and basics of cooking. So all in all, like it's been a very fruitful 2.5 years for us, and we would like to continue more with the support of Slow Food. And also there is a lot of encouragement from the farmers and the villagers. And to tell the best thing about which happened with the community garden is that in the previous times, the farm, we have juhum cultivation. So most of the farmland used to be cut and they used to burn. But now with the initiation of Slow Food community and with the help of Slow Food, the farmers have stopped doing the slash and burn technique. So the land is fertile for 7 to 10 years, whereas if it's used for slash and burn technique, the land is fertile only for 2 years. After that, the land has to be kept for vacant for almost 3 to 5 years before using the land again. So there's a lot of prospects and lots of things happening in the community garden, and we are also taking help from the farmers from the community. So we are bringing seeds from the farm. We are bringing it to the mainland that we are here, and we are distributing it to the farmers, to the people who are interested to grow their own kitchen farm. And with that, even I brought it in my home, and we were able to have a good produce this year with sticky corn, with a lot of vegetables that we brought from the seeds from the village. And we were able to have the vegetables for almost 2 months. So it's really encouraging. Are helping us with procuring the thing. So it will be good for us to connect and also learn from the farmers. And also thank you all for listening, and would like to hear from the other panelists as well, what they have been doing, so that we can gain the knowledge from each other. Thank you.
Grazie Joel, molto interessante, e magari tra le cose che poi ti chiederemo è anche la relazione con gli altri cuochi e se sei riuscito anche in quell'ambito a costruire una rete. È il turno di Taichi. Taichi rappresenta da Giappone, da Tokyo, rappresenta in questo panel l'innovazione. Abbiamo degli ospiti che nel loro percorso hanno sviluppato delle attività innovative, in questo caso Taichi con una startup molto interessante. Sappiamo tutti che il tema dello spreco del cibo è centrale, è importantissimo, e chiedo a Taichi di raccontarci un po' questa sua nuova creatura Tabete e aiutarci anche a capire come funziona e quali sviluppi può vedere.
Okay, thank you, Raul. Hi. Hi. So my name is Taichi Saku from Tokyo, Japan. I'm also a board member of the Slow Food Organization in Japan, and I have a startup here in Japan that focuses on the issue of food waste. And food waste is, of course, a huge issue when it comes to making cities edible. So though we know there are many efforts to make urban eating more sustainable, regenerative, but its efficiency is another topic that we must consider over the course. So 1/3 of the food is in the food produced in the world is wasted, and that rate is much higher when it comes to urban cities. So that's why we're trying to build more regenerative systems in cities that mitigates the issue of food waste. So our service is called Tabete, which is a mobile app for the iOS and Android platforms. And the name is Japanese, which translates to please eat, or more casually, bon appetit. So we call this a food rescue app because that's what our app users do through the app. So the app matches restaurants with excess food that is in most cases in danger of becoming food waste, with users who are willing to eat the food. So restaurants will post on the app when they have excess food left over, and users can browse through the app looking for stores that needs eaters to come rescue the food. So in addition to contributing to a sustainable system, in most cases the meals are available at discount price. So the users are more than happy to rescue the food. And of course, for the stores, not only can they convert what would have been wasted into extra revenue, but they can also get the chance to meet new customers and also get a reputation as an eco-friendly store. So our service aims to reduce food waste on a win-win based business between the users, stores, and of course us. So as of October, as of today, we have approximately 1,400 stores around mostly the Tokyo area, and about 30,000 users all over Japan. And collectively, we rescued nearly 60,000 meals over the course of our lifetime. So food waste is a huge issue when talking about urban food systems. And so though we are starting to see innovation in the production and distribution of food in urban areas, there's still room for change in the retail and consumption pace of urban eating. So since eating in cities tend to be weighted on dining experiences out of the home, we see weighted importance in changing how restaurants, retail, and ultimately how consumers behave. So consumer behavior is where we think the leverage point is. So since the consumption of food is a very habitual act, it's a daily act, of course, the real change will take a lot of time. So of course, campaigning for change and asking people to make good choices is an important part of the plan, but we think that's only half of the strategy. So I myself have been working with the Slow Food Youth Network here in Japan to organize several disco soup events, which are campaigns to let people know about the issue of food waste. And what we do is we provide soup made from rescued ugly vegetables to help give people a chance to taste perfectly good vegetables that would have become waste. But for real change to occur, food systems must become sustainable by design, and that's by sustainable I mean both environmentally and also economically. So that's why we chose to implement our solution as a for-profit business. So we currently are a startup in the Series A funding phase, and we're looking to grow our business ultimately kind of leverage our business to become a more food waste movement. So through our two-phase process, we anticipate to make change. In the first phase, where our app kind of inevitably forces people to think what they are eating. We're helping people make smart choices on purpose. And though many of our users use the app because of the monetary benefits, it also certainly helps bring the topic of food waste and the economic sustainability into the daily process of choosing what to eat. So, and then in the second phase, we're gradually trying to move on into a more sustainable economy where good practices are done more naturally. It becomes more effortless part of the daily routine. So of course, regularly thinking about sustainability, choosing wisely what to eat is a good practice, but it is also exhausting to do continuously. So once our consumers and businesses recognize the importance of reducing food waste, then our second step is to try to make the practice more natural, and it required less effort. So that kind of resource, then we have the extra resource, the extra time left over within each person to kind of spend into other good causes. So that is it from me. Thank you.
Grazie Taichi. Sicuramente Taichi, che è membro di Slow Food Giappone, sarà interessante anche dopo approfondire la relazione con i soci di Slow Food, con i ristoratori di Slow Food, con i mercati di Slow Food e con le scuole che lavorano con Slow Food, per capire il tema dello spreco in Giappone, come è vissuto anche grazie alla nostra associazione. E proprio rispetto alle associazioni e alle organizzazioni non governative, do il benvenuto anche a Lucille. Lucille si occupa di progetti che tutelano la biodiversità, e nel leggere alcuni appunti che riguardano la sua attività mi è molto interessato il tema della catena del cibo e della filiera e degli spazi legati alla salute, diciamo il tema salute, cibo e alle fasce di popolazione povera che anche a seguito di questa pandemia hanno subito danni ancora più forti rispetto alle altre fasce della cittadinanza. Chiederei davvero a Lucille di aiutarci a capire bene questo tema perché credo che riguardi un po' tutto il mondo e sia uno dei cardini dell'attività di Slow Food.
Yes, thank you, Raul. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Slow Food, for creating this sharing space. For today's forum, the session, following today's theme, I will share some of the initiatives of Masipag People's Organizations and networks in contributing to a sustainable food system while coping with the situation brought about by the pandemic. Just a few information about the situation here in the Philippines. Now, from October 11, that's yesterday, 2020 data, the total number of COVID-19 cases in the Philippines was 336,926. And it's probably, well, actually, I think it's the highest in Southeast Asia, while the number of unemployed as of July 2020 reached 4.6 million. So with these figures and if this trend continues, the next feared pandemic could be the hunger pandemic, which is very alarming. And well, the COVID-19 caused disruption globally, and health, food security, and local economy are most affected with imposed lockdowns. And who experienced or still experiencing the worst effects, I think we would all agree that those in the vulnerable communities are experiencing the worst effects, meaning the rural and urban poor communities. In the Philippines, according to the June 2020 data from the social weather stations, 4.2 million Filipinos experienced involuntary hunger just in the 3-month lockdown. So that's from March to June. So imagine the effect of this pandemic, especially for the vulnerable community. So protocols and responses among countries differ, but the immediate common response was to provide food aid, as it is the basic needs of the people. And when we say food aid, primarily it contains instant food, instant noodles, there's processed canned goods packed with preservatives. While these food aids are accepted, people of course need healthy options so as to boost the immune system and resistance against this illness and diseases. So in a food system wherein big agricultural corporations and industries promote the so-called supermarketization of food, well, access to real, nutritious, and whole food is held back. So there's a problem already there. And when there's problematic food system and inequality in terms of access and distribution, health and nutrition of the people are compromised. So it's clear that the problems with the current food system are not caused by the pandemic alone. These problems exist long before COVID-19. So what COVID-19 did was to expose and worsen these problems. So in this difficult time, to reach out and look after one another has easily become one's moral sense of duty or responsibility, and to turn a blind eye is just unacceptable. So that's what we're trying to do with Masipag and the people's organizations of Masipag, is to reach out and extend help. So I would like to mention 3 key points here. First, sustainable production and consumption. Second, local marketing, building local economy. And third, solidarity through sharing communities. Masipag highlights its people's organizations and organic farmers' role in contribution in sustainable food production. As food security frontliners, farmers continue to produce food, more so when the restrictions is the bit, doing it not having profit in mind or profit being the top priority, rather producing to be able to secure food on the table for their families and for their communities. So being sustainable organic farmers in terms of production input, masipag farmers and people's organizations were not affected with the restrictions on transfer of agricultural products like commercial seeds, synthetic fertilizer, pesticides. Now, since these farmers over time have established their own seed banks, keeping traditional rice varieties, masipag lines, and farmer-bred rice, even seeds, vegetable seeds, no? And they rely on natural materials available within their farms for soil fertility and alternative pest management. So, in fact, production of organic concoctions such as fermented fruit juice, fermented plant juice, has become a family activity involving even the children. So production continues with the goal to provide not only for the families but for the communities. So since there's surplus of organic produce, masipag farmers opted to sell their harvest even at a lower price, than the conventional ones. They even share organic produce to frontliners and especially vulnerable members of the community. So some masipag people's organizations, even they designed a system of consolidating their farmers for their members fresh produce, and even made rounds in the community to sell the organic produce. So in this manner, there's local food security and income generation for the farmers. Because of when the pandemic hit, closing of establishments resulted to unemployment. So hence, securing food on the table on a daily basis has been a challenge for every Filipino, especially the vulnerable ones. In some areas, like in Panay is in the Visayas region, people's organizations revived the concept of the barter system. For example, fisher folks or those living along the coastal areas, they would exchange seafood, fish, for example, for vegetables or rice from the farmers. Other masipag members and even other networks of masipag even maximize social media platforms in marketing their produce, and in a way connecting the producers to consumers in the peri-urban and urban communities, looking for healthy organic products. So at first it was challenging for the farmers, of course, being in rural areas, connecting using social media platforms was challenging, but they were able to adapt, and it's proven very effective and very useful for the farmers and for the consumers as well. Of course, local initiatives of farmers on sustainable production and local marketing were inspiring enough that instead of creating further divide among communities or among class, masipag farmers build on solidarity, strengthening collective effort rather than the individualistic mindset. So instead of thinking about their own family, my own community, they think of the wider members of the society. So on the other hand, to be able to support urban communities and the major cities, masipag extends help by sharing farmer seeds and conducting urban gardening trainings with integrated discussion on health and nutrition. So it's not just about planting. Of course, there should be a discussion about health and nutrition. So for people in the cities with, I guess, relatively little hands-on experience on farming or gardening, appreciation or growing your own food is key. So starting from the basic, as we always say, grow the food that you eat and eat the food that you grow. So that's where it will start. So planting a variety of crops would contribute not only to local food security, but will also address nutritional requirement. Yeah, so masipag...
Grazie. Ti chiedo,
okay.
mi sono appuntato alcuni spunti molto interessanti, in particolar modo mi sembra molto innovativo il tema dello scambio e poi utilizzando anche i social media, poi magari arriveranno delle domande anche su questo tema. Grazie Lucille, e chiedo a Miss Ha che ci parla da Vietnam, da Hanoi, e che negli appunti che ci ha inviato è emersa particolarmente l'interesse della sua attività per quanto riguarda il tema dei mercati, il tema dei prodotti a filiera corta, il tema del prezzo giusto, quindi proprio la tematica del buono, pulito e giusto, accessibile a tutti. Quindi Miss Ha, grazie, ci racconti un po' la tua esperienza e il contesto dove lavori.
Hello everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. And as Raul said, I'm from Vietnam Country Office of HealthRich, a non-governmental organization on public health. At HealthRich, we consider local fresh markets an important place, providing urban residents with access to healthy and fresh food. Not only provide thousands of jobs to local vendors, markets are also important meeting venue in the community and play an important role in local culture. For those important values, it is necessary to protect local fresh markets in fast urbanized cities. Since 2010, HealthRich has been working with local partners to preserve and protect local fresh markets in Hanoi. And I'm coming to you today to say part of our work. Let me first provide you with some brief information of Hanoi. It is the capital of Vietnam, one of the fastest growing economy in the world. And the city has a history of more than 1,000 years. And during the history, the markets have always been the central to Hanoi culture and economy. The economy of the city developed based on a market network, which was established between ancient Hanoi and the neighboring villages. Currently, the city has around 400 markets located in almost every neighborhood of the city. And in the inner city, the residents can have access to fresh markets within their walking distance of 800 meters. Nowadays, fresh markets remain the most important source of food for Hanoi residents. And a research by the Center for Global Food and Resources shows that up to 70% of residents buy for food at formal and informal markets. And most of the food here are fresh, locally produced, and sold at affordable prices. However, markets in Hanoi are still facing many challenges. They include a lack of understanding about the value that markets bring to the city and why they're worthy of investment. Many markets are under poor maintenance and have degraded infrastructure that led to many food safety issues. Meanwhile, there is a continual risk of destruction for redevelopment into commercial buildings because of the high land values of markets. And markets are also facing a fierce competition from many other choices of shopping, such as street vendors, or increasing number of supermarkets and hypermarkets. And there's an increasing trend of shopping online that young people very like it. So in 2011, Hanoi government introduced a policy that would shut down many markets. That means thousands of city residents will no longer go to shop for food in markets closing to their home. We organized a campaign to save the markets in Hanoi. We use strategies including research, partnership, and media to bring multiple value of fresh markets to the government, policymakers, and the public. As a result of our campaign, the city government decided to stop rebuilding fresh markets into commercial centers. This means thousands of vendors continue to have employment and tens of thousands of residents can shop for healthy food close to their home. But saving markets isn't enough. There are many challenges facing the market, including poor and degraded infrastructure. To deal with that problem, we organize charrette, where we work with local architects and local residents and vendors to develop a market program and come up with some great designing concepts for markets in Hanoi. And we use the designing concept as pitches for media and following up with recommendations of broader city policies regarding market investment, modernizing market management and market system. As a result, the national government became more interested in the markets, and we are now working with the national government on a national policy that will protect and preserve markets into the future. That's the end of my talk today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Grazie, molto interessante anche l'aspetto della relazione con la progettualità architettonica e con le proposte per interagire con quello che è il futuro della città, cercando di mantenerne la storia legata a questi così numerosi mercati in una sola città. Andiamo al nostro ultimo ospite dalla Turchia, Guven, dalla città di Izmir. E andiamo in consecuzione logica al ragionamento che faceva Miss Ha. Mr. Guven si occupa in particolar modo in questi ultimi 2 anni della relazione tra le progettualità di Slow Food e non solo e l'amministrazione pubblica, la parte politica attiva, e quindi è un tema questo molto presente nelle politiche del cibo e nella strategia che Slow Food deve sempre più innescare nella sua azione, quindi la relazione tra le nostre attività legate ai nostri principi e quanto accade all'interno dei luoghi dove si decide qual è il futuro delle città. E quindi Mr. Guven, benvenuto, grazie e volentieri ascoltiamo la tua esperienza.
Hi everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Slow Food International for organizing this very unique and very new type of Terra Madre event. I think it's all beautiful that we all come together. I would like to give first a very brief information about Izmir, the city where I live and where I come from. Izmir is a Turkish city along the Mediterranean Aegean coast. It has been a center of world trade during the 18th and 19th century. It's a very, very big harbor city, and currently 4.5 million people live in this city. But for us, for Slow Food people, it's also interesting that the city has a very unique and very diverse agricultural pattern. So the metropolitan city is on the seashore coastline, but it has mountains that reach up to 2,000 meters. So on one side, you can have olive orchards of economical value, as you can imagine. But on the other hand, in Izmir, we also have chestnut trees, which also have economic value. So it's a very diverse agricultural place, and it's a wonderful province where we can test different methods, how we can link the urban community with the rural communities. Our strategic plan of the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality deliberately aims to diminish the wall between the urban community and the rural community. In the past, traditionally, we would normally divide us, the people, as urban people and the rural people. And I think this has resulted in very, very negative results. Including the big things like the climate change or the food crisis. So first of all, in Izmir, we envisage no longer people divided as two, rural or urban. We want to diminish the walls between the two. And to do that, we have a very dedicated plan which will work over time. First of all, this wall between rural and urban areas of this province or of all provinces around the world is first of all a mental wall. So we as the people living in city or in the countryside think that we belong to one part of the world, and then we do not have enough connection with the rest of the people in our cities. I think this causes the major problem, and we do a lot of work here in Izmir to change the situation, to change this paradigm. A typical saying in Turkey says that eat the grape, don't ask the vineyard, which I think is not a good thing to do nowadays. And nowadays, I think we have to do just the other way around. We have to eat the grape, but also ask, criticize, and know as much as we can about the vineyards, how the production is taking place, what fertilizers is being used, what biodiversity is living it, how people are working there, are they paid well if they don't own that land. So I think this should be the main paradigm: eat the grape and ask the vineyard. So it's just the opposite of this very widespread Turkish saying. So that forms the major part of our work. And in order to physically connect the rural communities with the urban communities, the Izmir Metropolitan Municipality and a lot of production cooperatives in the countryside, because Izmir has a tradition of village cooperatives, and these organizations, very small organizations, which also have a union, work very closely with our municipality and district municipalities to serve their products in a healthier way, in a cheaper way, in the market in the city. So a number of mechanisms we set to do that are, of course, the production markets. We set 3 production markets in different parts of the city where people desire for cheap and healthy food, and the production cooperatives can bring their food and sell their products. That's one mechanism. Or the people's markets. These are like shops where you can get, again, directly the products of the cooperatives. Izmir is also unique with its indigenous production landscapes, which means this is something on which we work very closely with Slow Food, which means these are areas where people are carrying out agriculture by no change since maybe several thousands of years. But more important than that is that the owners of these areas, of these indigenous production landscapes, do really not behave as if they are owner of that land. They behave like a random species living in that ecosystem. For instance, the Presidium, which originated from Izmir, the olive oil Presidium, comes from that very unique landscape. The very important paradigm in these indigenous production landscapes, which also has given a very, very good hint in the area of pandemic, is that these areas, these agriculture, very valuable and rich landscapes, are maintained together in a way of working together. So people manage their lands as the whole village. So this is my land, this is my neighbor's land, this is another land where another neighbor owns, but we all work together and do carry out agriculture together with other species and with the wider ecosystem by not taking account the physical boundaries of our jurisdiction. So this, I think, is going to change the future of agriculture. Because if agriculture is separated between urban and rural communities, between me and my neighbor, the more agricultural areas do become isolated from cities, from each other, the more complex the situation is going to be. And to reverse that is actually extremely simple: to work together among farmers, form cooperatives, and then form unions of the cooperatives. And then it's actually very similar to what Slow Food is doing around the world. And then work with the urban communities and make sure that the customer of our products, if we are a producer, knows exactly the origin and the way of production of our products. So these are the systems simply we are testing and undertaking in Izmir. And we have a very dedicated program to do that. And I think the history where we live, this is relevant for the whole Mediterranean. And then the energy which comes from the producers and from customers already signals that a different way of agriculture is possible, and it is already being implemented in this corner of the world. I think my time is going to come to end soon. Yeah, maybe in the future, if people would have questions, I will try to answer. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to explain what we are doing here in Izmir.
Benissimo, molto interessante anche il tema della tracciabilità della filiera per la valorizzazione del prodotto e anche la valorizzazione di colui che lo produce pagando il prezzo giusto a quel prodotto. È molto interessante. Ci sono diverse domande. Una domanda che pensiamo possa essere rivolta a tutti è: qual è il ruolo che nella vostra attività vedete per sviluppare il progetto del rendere le città edibili? Cioè abbiamo ascoltato i vostri progetti, tutti molto interessanti e così diversi, ma tutti sono connessi dall'idea che lo sviluppo nella città e il rapporto con il cibo delle città è centrale per il futuro. Ricominciando da Joel, se ci aiuti a capire innanzitutto a livello dei cuochi del tuo territorio e anche un sogno concreto rispetto a questo progetto.
So what we do is we try to get our resource from the village. We use sustainable and good produce in our day-to-day cooking also. So we create with, as a chef, we have the liability to create some things. And by using the ingredients that the farmers and the producers gives us, we can innovate and create new dishes. And also what we were doing in the village is that there are a group of women who are, they are called self-help group. So what we have done is they are also trying to implement the ingredients that are available in the village and not getting things from outside, but using the available resources and the produce that they have. So they have done quite a lot of cooking for a group of 15 people who came to document the community also. And in the urban, in the cities at the moment, what a lot of the chefs, fellow chefs are also doing is they are getting into sustainable farming. So even myself, like I've spoken to farmers, and by the end of 2.5 months, we will be growing more vegetables in the outskirts of the cities, so that it's accessible for the people who are living in the urban areas.
Taichi.
In my belief, our role is in kind of making the cities more edible, making the most of what is produced in process is what we're trying to do. So with a high percentage of food waste, it's like you're baking a whole pizza only to eat 3 or 4 pieces out of it. So our mission is to try to help people eat up the whole pizza without any of it going to waste. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward question.
Anche tu, Lucille, ci puoi dire anche rispetto a quello che già ci hai raccontato, ancora un maggiore approfondimento proprio su questo tema dello sviluppo del rapporto tra la città e una città che sia sempre più, come abbiamo detto, edibile.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from Masipag assisting or involving the city dwellers or the urban poor communities regarding production of food, we also build and strengthen alliances with consumers in the cities, and we have partnerships with the community shared agriculture groups, the Consumer Alliance. We have a pool of chefs and the vegan communities as well. They help, and they have we have this healthy relationship, educating the urban communities regarding sustainable food production and sustainable food consumption. And it's what in Masipag's work, it is important that the process of food production, sustainable food production, the people in the urban communities are involved, not only as consumers, but as co-producers. So we know that the food available in the cities are the processed ones. So it's important that the people in the urban cities know how to at least grow the simple food, in their backyards, in their areas, in their home. So that's how we involve the communities in the urban.
Miss Ha ci ha raccontato anche di come il mercato funziona grazie anche alle nuove tecnologie e quindi ci sia una funzione economica anche dei social. Anche in questo senso, qual è il tuo sguardo rispetto all'evoluzione che avrà questo tipo di progettualità?
Yes. I think that nowadays the social media play very important role, and especially in marketing and the social media. I think that in Vietnam, young people, especially young people, they love to use social media very much. So it can be a strategy to marketing for markets, and make the young people pay more attention to markets, and make it become and they will think about markets as how to say, understand about the values that market multi values markets will bring to them. So I think that social media will be very important strategy to approach young people in Vietnam, and so that they will become future customers in markets. Yeah.
Miss Ha, ti chiedo un approfondimento rispetto ai produttori e alle nuove tecnologie, se i produttori stanno imparando anche loro stessi ad utilizzarli e in che misura si interfacciano con gli acquirenti.
Actually, no. Most of the vendors, local vendors at market, they are coming from rural areas, and they are not very, how to say, good at using technology. However, we are working with the market management board. Yeah, and we are considering that using social media or other advanced technology to market, to how to say, to promote and marketing for markets.
Mr. Guven, invece credo che sarebbe molto importante che ci raccontassi un po' il progetto di Terra Madre Anatolia 2021, perché l'esempio di questo incontro virtuale fa venire ancora più la necessità di vederci concretamente e di ripartire con le attività in presenza. Leggo nel percorso che stai sviluppando che nel 2021 è in programma Terra Madre Anatolia. Ci vuoi dire qualcosa rispetto a questo?
Sure. I mean, it has been it has been welcomed by the entire Slow Food community the organization of a Terra Madre, big Terra Madre event in Izmir, named at Terra Madre Anatolia. It's supposed to be next year, but of course the exact deadline is currently unknown because of pandemic all around the world. But we envisage Terra Madre Anatolia as a very important event for saving the small producers across Anatolia and in entire Turkey, because there are hundreds of, maybe thousands of Ark of Taste products or hundreds of potential presidiums in this country, but yet they are not documented. Their production techniques are not put in place, and more importantly, they are not available to people living in cities. So the whole project was for us was not only organizing an event where we will come together and we will share our opinion. This is also important. But the whole idea was to save the small producers across Turkey and in neighboring countries, of course, which can offer us healthy, fair, good quality food. We are all aware that there are many of those in this country, in Turkey, but they're not well recognized. So that was the purpose of the event. I'm sure it will be implemented. I think the event which you do now is a great example of how you can do these mega events online. But we'll see. I mean, the methods and the exact date of the event is not set, but the reasons why we wanted to organize this event are still there, and the demand for such an event keeps growing. And I hope we will be able to organize it sooner rather than later.
Grazie a tutti, e credo che sia stato un giro del mondo molto interessante secondo il buono, pulito e giusto, e speriamo di ritrovarci presto ciascuno nelle proprie iniziative e anche nelle iniziative degli altri come Terra Madre Anatolia e per il prossimo Terra Madre in presenza. Questo tema è un tema dell'oggi, ma è un tema anche del futuro. Buon lavoro a tutti e buona giornata e viva Slow Food!
The future of our planet is decided at the table, in our daily food choices. What do we know about what we eat? How do we choose? Where do we buy it? You can make a difference and contribute to a future where everyone has access to food that is good. Eating must be a pleasure for everyone. We all have a right to food that is healthy, natural, fresh, and seasonal. Clean. Being aware helps us to choose food that is good for our health and the health of our planet. Fair. Knowing our food means making choices that are fair to us, to the producers, and to future generations. Slow Food has been working for over 30 years to defend biodiversity and fight the climate crisis by promoting good, clean, and fair food for all. Support Slow Food. Let's act together for the common good. Go to donate.slowfood.com/en and follow us at terramadreselunadelgusta.com.